You don't need to be harsh, yell, or punish your kids to get them to listen. There is a smarter way. This discipline hack actually improves your child's behavior and it also strengthens your relationship at the same time. I'm Lisa, a child behavior expert and a parent coach. I have over a decade of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. On my channel, my goal is to empower parents like yourself with science-backed strategies to help you feel confident in supporting your child's development. With the right knowledge and tools, you can raise a resilient and confident child who thrives at home, school, and in life. So there are many parents today who still think that using traditional discipline techniques and methods are still effective today. Using threats, punishments, timeouts, grounding. Let me tell you, these types of parenting techniques do not work, and the research proves it. And if you're raising a strong-willed child, a sensitive child, a neurodiverse child, you've probably seen firsthand how using traditional discipline like punishments and threats do not work on them and are likely backfiring on you. I've seen so many parents who were using this technique because that's what they knew, that's what they grew up with. But what they were seeing was way more meltdowns, extreme power struggles with their children, and their homes were just chaotic. So there's research out there from the University of Cambridge and the University College Dublin, which indicates that children subjected to hostile parenting, characterized by frequent harsh discipline, are significantly more likely to develop enduring mental health issues, including anxiety and depression by the age of 9. These are staggering results that we as parents need to recognize how impactful it is negatively on our kids when we use harsh threats, punishments to try to discipline our kids. We need to make a change. We are in 2025, right? We have so much new research indicating what actually is effective in disciplining, in teaching our kids how to behave and how to control themselves. Because here's the thing, if we keep leaning into harsh discipline, what we end up doing is eroding the relationship we have with our child. Without respect and valuing cooperation as the forefront of the way we are teaching our kids to behave in this world, what we're teaching them is that you have to wait for someone to yell at you. You have to wait for someone to use harsh punishments on you in order for you to change your behaviors. It's like you're trying to pull your child with a leash, trying to control their every move. And what we see in these kids who grew up in this type of environment is that when they get into the world, when they go to school, there's more defiant behaviors. They don't respect authority figures like their teachers or school staff. And these behaviors, they snowball. They start to act like they can do whatever they want. There's no sense of rules or authority in their world. Our kids end up not learning how to be responsible, how to respect others, and they become unadjusted in the real world. And we see a lot of problems with kids who have just been parented with lots of punishment. They go out into the world and they don't see society's rules as something to follow. And unfortunately, we see a lot of these kids grow up who really challenge the justice system, who get into a lot of trouble with law enforcement. So if we really want to raise resilient, responsible kids, we need to do better. We need to change our approach. We're not here to use punishments and threats anymore. There is a new disciplinary hack that we need to dive into and you need to know and start implementing today to start making the best change for your child moving forward. All right, so to truly change your child's behaviors, you have to understand this one thing about their brain. They have something called mirror neurons. These mirror neurons are what helps them to understand how to behave themselves, and they learn it through other people. So if your child is watching you, they're seeing how you respond to people, how you act around other people. They're absorbing all of this through their mirror neurons, and they learn how to act in the same way. So here's an example. If you're telling your child to always say thank you, you have an aunt, an uncle giving them a gift, say thank you for that. They just gave you something really nice. That is just telling them what to do. But what the mirror neurons do that's so much more powerful is when they watch you do something, when they see you Say thank you. Someone gave you something. The barista just handed you your drink. You say thank you to them. They just received a gift from a friend. Thank you. Your child just handed you a dish to put in the dishwasher. Thank you. When you respond, when you behave in ways that you want your child to behave, they are going to mirror that exact thing. Now, the opposite is also true. If we are frustrated in a moment and we are yelling, we are reacting with anger, with frustration, our kids are going to learn to do the same. They are going to be watching how we handle our own emotions, and that is how they're going to respond back in moments when they feel that emotion too. Again, that's all part of the mirror neuron transmission. We have to recognize how powerful this mechanism is, because this is what constructs how they behave. And so when we can understand that the brain is made up of these mirror neurons, their behaviors are all from how they've been perceiving how other people around them behave, now we can start intervening in a different place than from punishments and threats. So the biggest hack that you have that's going to transform your child's behavior is what we called co-regulation. What co-regulation means is being regulated yourself when you are feeling big emotions, frustration, disappointment, anger, upset. How do you handle your own emotions in that moment? When your child does something that ticks you off, right? You've repeated yourself multiple times telling them not to do something, but they still do it and it frustrates you. How do you respond in that moment? Do you feel your blood boiling and you react out of frustration and you start yelling at them to stop? That is what they're picking up from you, which is why you're seeing the same type of response whenever they get frustrated. That's causing all of these bad behaviors and the cycle that you're stuck in right now. So you might be wondering then, how do I actually regulate myself? Because in those moments, I'm actually totally ticked off and I can't even control it. It's just like a natural reaction to whenever my child frustrates me. So the number one thing you need to do is to be aware of your own emotions. When you react, you need to recognize that I'm actually reacting from a place of frustration and label that for yourself. The more and more you become aware of how you react and respond to your kids, the more you can start to regulate yourself. So I want you to think about the last time you were feeling really frustrated towards your kid, how you were yelling and feeling really angry towards them because they did something that you told them not to do. Sit with that. Really reflect on what were those emotions? Where was it? Where did you feel it in your body? Some of us feel it in our necks, in our shoulders. We really tense up. We all have physiological reactions when we feel these deep, dark emotions that kind of boil inside of us. It comes up somewhere in our body. Some of us clench our fists and we can feel our hands just like really hot and sweaty. So feel it, think about it, feel it in your body, because that's going to be the signal for you. The next time it happens and you feel that sensation, that's going to remind you, this is the moment. This is the moment that I am becoming dysregulated and I need to regulate myself. Now, the next step in this is figuring out, how do I actually calm myself down? Because what's happening inside of you is that you just got triggered by whatever your kid just did. Your emotions are rising up. You can feel it in your body, but you need to bring yourself back down to regulate. You need to find the thing that's going to help you feel more calm. Now, a great tool is using the breath. In that moment, giving yourself a deep inhale to help you calm your nervous system down can actually give you enough time. Because when you breathe, you actually have to take a pause, right? We're not just doing a quick, we're actually breathing in and out to give ourselves that breath, right? Because our brains need that fuel of oxygen to help us recalibrate. And so taking that time to breathe actually gives us a pause, and that pause can give us time to actually collect ourselves. Because what we do in moments where we get triggered is there's an immediate response, and that immediate response means that you haven't given yourself a lag time between you and your child. And when you can give yourself the breath, it actually creates that gap. So give that a try the next time you feel and you recognize that you're getting frustrated and you're triggered and you're getting dysregulated. Take in that deep breath, learn to pause and not react in that moment. The next step to co-regulation is to connect before correcting. This is the biggest mistake I always see parents make. Whenever their child makes a mistake, they do something out of line, the first thing they want to do is swoop in and correct it. We try to tell them, no, you shouldn't do that. Why are you doing this? You should be doing it like this. When we come in trying to correct everything, trying to correct their behavior, what immediately happens with our kids is they put up a defense wall. They feel like there's an attack on them, right? The correction is the attack. They're being told what they just did wrong and what they need to do better with. While you still need to give them the correction, it shouldn't be the immediate thing you do. Because when you send someone an immediate correction and that defense wall goes up, that message won't go through, right? You're hitting a dead wall. And so in order for the message to actually go through, you need to connect first. You need to empathize with why your child is feeling that way in the first place. So here's an example. Your child just pushed another kid at the playground. Immediate reaction. Why did you do that? You shouldn't be putting your hands on the other kids. That's not nice. When we do that, immediate defense wall, message will not go through. Of course, they shouldn't be pushing the other kids. Of course, they should be nice, be gentle. But if you say it like that, it's not going to really compute in their brains and they're not going to actually do better the next time. And so in that moment, you have to think about it from your child's perspective. Well, why did they push the other kid in the first place? Maybe you were watching, the other kid was just kind of crawling, like climbing where they were. They were trying to like play on the swings and they really like pushed them aside and they took the swings. So your child was just kind of retaliating back. Now, we want to understand it from their perspective, right? Kids are not bad, innately bad because they just want to be mean to other kids. They react in ways because they're trying to defend themselves, because they feel like there's a threat to themselves. Maybe they just don't have certain skills to communicate what they want to express to another kid. And so we have to see that they're always trying to come from a good place, but their behaviors may not align with that. So in that moment, your child was really just having a hard time and they did something that wasn't appropriate. So when you come into that moment, to connect with them means to recognize the feelings that they had. Hey, I know that you're feeling upset because that boy just took your spot on the swing, but it is not okay to push him. That's how we can start to have open conversations, because when you connect through the emotion that your child's feeling, they feel less alone in it. They feel less like they're being pushed into a corner and being accused of something when they felt something very different. When they were feeling hurt and they were being told that they were being bad, instead we're recognizing that, yes, I know that hurt you, it hurt your feelings, but we're not going to, approve of the behaviors that they did to the other kid, like pushing. We do need to teach them and discipline them for that. So that's where connection before correction comes in. Step number 3 is to model the right behavior. So let's continue on this example with your kid in the playground pushing another child. You came in to connect first, then you corrected. Here's where you turn to the child and you model what you would like your child to say to that kid. That way you're actually teaching them how it is you're supposed to respond back after the whole situation happened. So you would turn to the child and say, I'm so sorry, that must have really hurt. Can I help you? When you demonstrate, you model that type of behavior for your child learns. Remember, it's those mirror neuron connections. They're seeing how you're responding in that moment, and they're absorbing your behavior through their mirror neurons. And over time, they're going to start making sense of how responding appropriately really looks like. Step number 4 is guide them towards better choices. So let's say your child is having a hard time with homework. They're throwing a tantrum. It got really hard. They'd rather be outside playing, or they'd rather be on their iPad. And You've repeated yourself so many times, you can feel your own frustration, but you know better to regulate yourself. You take that deep breath, you calm down. Now you look at them, you validate those feelings. I know homework's really hard. You'd rather be doing other things that are more fun. Then next, you want to model the right response for them. You can see they're escalated, they're upset, they're tantruming. You show them, you know what, we need to calm our bodies down. Why don't we take the deep breath that I taught you, right? Which is the breath that you've been learning yourself. You model that with them, but they're still tantruming. What do? Well, here's where you need to start guiding them, helping them to make better choices. If your child's getting so mad, right? They're just so frustrated. They just like take all their stuff off the desk. They throw it across the floor. Everything's everywhere. They're stomping their feet. Now, what do you do in that moment? You need to continue to stay regulated yourself, right? That's step number one. Keep calm in that moment. Don't escalate. The more you escalate, the more you trigger your child to escalate as well, which is where we see a lot of parents really get into tough situations because they think that if they escalate and yell because they just did something out of dysregulation, like throw their stuff all over the floor, yelling is going to control it. But all it does, it actually fires them up more. It dysregulates them even more, and then they're spiraling out of control. So stay regulated in that moment. And the more you can stay in that moment, it helps to ground them better. Eventually, they will start to de-escalate and calm down. And then the next thing you need to do is offer the choices once they're in that calmer state. I know you're upset right now, but we can't be throwing all of this stuff on the floor. Okay, so what we can do here is either I can help you pick it up right now and bring it back to the table, or we can push everything into the corner and tidy it up in a few minutes. Which one do you want to do? You're giving them two choices. You're still getting them to take responsibility of the action, and you're teaching them to do this in a calm, regulated way. Now, step number 5 to co-regulation. This step isn't always needed, but sometimes it is, which is to use logical, not harsh consequences on your child. So consequences need to make sense. They can't be arbitrary, have nothing to do with the situation at hand. We always want it to be connected. That way, it makes rational sense for your child. So let's say your child continues to not want to finish their homework, but the agreement was that if you finish your homework first, then you're going to have some screen time later. But they chose not to finish their homework. Well, we have to instill consequences, right? I know in moments where we feel bad sometimes, we don't want our kids to get upset more, that we end up giving in and just say, okay, fine, 30 minutes, go ahead, right? But that doesn't instill accountability nor responsibility. And so consequences are required, right? And it's part of life too. We want to prepare our kids for the world when they get out there and, you know, they make a promise that they're going to do something, they're going to hand in an assignment. And if they don't do it, there will be a consequence that the school upholds on their end, right? They might fail that subject, or they're just going to get a really bad mark on their report card, which could affect their overall grade and eventually, you know, fail that subject. And so it's important to teach our kids that our actions have consequences to them, good and bad. So if you guys had an agreement that if you did your homework first, then you can have screen time, but they do not finish their homework, you uphold that consequence. And you tell them, you know, I know that you're having a hard time. I know all the stuff is on the floor, but we took care of it. But since you weren't able to finish your homework, we will have to take a break from screen time today. And they're going to get upset, but it is your job. It is your job as a parent to hold these boundaries for your kids, because when you teach them that there are rules and consequences to things, to their actions, then they start to learn that they are responsible. So when we learn how to co-regulate and use this as the foundation of discipline for our kids, this is how we raise exceptional, resilient kids. It's not through fear, but it's built through connection and guidance and skill building. Your kids are learning the skill of emotional regulation, which is going to help them so far in life because it's going to teach them when their feelings and emotions go way up high, they are in control of that. They can bring themselves down. They have the power to do that. And nothing in their environment can trigger them to a point where they lose complete control over themselves. This is how we raise resilient kids, when they have strong emotional regulation skills. And it all starts with you when you know how to co-regulate. So if you are struggling, having power struggles with your kids, and you're recognizing that you're losing your temper, you don't have the tools to help you regulate in order for you to co-regulate with your child, now is the time to start taking action. It's so important that if right now you are leaning towards punishments and threats as your primary disciplinary method, that you immediately shift to co-regulation. This is how you are going to start seeing real change in your family today. You're going to start seeing fewer meltdowns, fewer tantrums, way less pushback with your children. If you are ready to make these changes for yourself and for your children, my one-on-one parent coaching will help to guide you through this journey. Through my coaching, you're going to get specific guidance on how to regulate yourself. We're going to find what are the specific tools that work for you in those moments, and we're going to actually practice this together to help you get to a place where you feel in control of yourself. You're also going to know exactly what to say. In these moments, it's hard. In the moment, it's tough to figure out, what am I supposed to say to connect with my child where it doesn't sound like a correction? Or how do I actually model something in that moment when I'm out in public? I will guide you on exactly the specific situations that you're going through and give you tangible scripts that you can start utilizing the moment you get them from our session. So if you're ready to get started, you can book your first free consultation in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on the next one.